G'day guys, we're having a look at the classic game Arch Rivals. It was, I just had a bit of a look, it was in the arcade in 1989 and came to Sega Genesis and Mega Drive in about 92 I think, so it's quite an early game. We've looked at some that go up to about 1995, so this is probably considered the heyday of the Sega Mega Drive and the Genesis, and the Super Nintendo being the main competitor. It was published by Flying Edge Entertainment, you see there, which was actually a child company to Acclaim Entertainment, which you can see there. And basically they just specialised in publishing and creating games for the Sega brand. And yeah, they ended up folding in about 1994. There's not a lot of games available. I haven't had a close look at the list of games, but yeah, just thought it'd be interesting to have a look at the artwork and the artist himself as well, who created the artwork for the game. It's very distinctive and obviously gives you a fairly good idea of what to expect in the game. So you've got the this guy on the right here with the mohawk, which I think is in the game as well. I think his name is Mohawk. Punching the guy on the left-hand side in the face, and he's stacked on top of his teammate, and it's all just happening. This guy's hanging on the ring, so it's just absolute chaos. And I think the game Basket Brawl was actually a little bit earlier than this. It's hard to say. It was on the Atari 7800 and the Atari Lynx as well, whereas Arch Rivals I think was on the Sega Genesis, obviously Mega Drive, Game Gear, but it actually was in the Sega arcade as well. I haven't played the arcade version. I wouldn't mind actually playing that or finding some footage of it, considering it probably have better graphics than the Mega Drive version. So anyway, I'll flick to the back of the packaging. So we've got the front cover there in a bit more detail, and we've got the guy hanging on the ring there. We've got a few screenshots. So we've got some of the captions are fairly hilarious. We've got some action over here. Get ready for an all-out basket brawl. Don't miss the halftime show, and it's got some of the cheerleaders and the news reporter there, very chiseled-looking news reporter. And choose from an outrageous roster of arch rivals. So we've got Mohawk. Yeah, there we go. So as advertised, there's Mohawk, and Vinny. Get ready, Vinny. And no fouls, knock your opponent's block off. So the distinctive element of this game is pretty clear. It's graphically, so it's 2-on-2, side-scrolling. It's basically NBA Jam, but with more violence, more punching. It's not known for its good graphics. It's known for the actual object of the game. And when I remember we purchased it, around probably 95 or so, we picked it up at the store, and back then, for those who used to just reading reviews and things, back then you had a few magazines that you could read reviews on. Otherwise, you were basically just relying on word of mouth and these little screenshots on the back, very low quality screenshots, but. So the game, as expected, was a bit of a letdown with the graphics. We fired it up. I think we already had we had NBA Live and all those kind of games about that time. So the graphics were quite good in those games, and it was fairly disappointing when we started playing this to see the graphics and how simple everything was and how clunky the movements are, and just how sort of, I guess, cheap that it looked. But that doesn't take away from the gameplay. That the gameplay in this was really addictive and really very fun with a friend. Very similar to NBA Jam, obviously 2-on-2 full court. But when you figure out how to knock down an opponent, or punch them out of the air when they're going for a dunk, all perfectly legal plays, it was a really great fun game. And it didn't have. I remember Basket Brawl. It had weapons. So it was kind of like Double Dragon, if you remember that game, with bottles and knives and chains and things hanging around, sitting on the ground on the court, and you could pick up a chain or a bottle and go up and bottle your bottle your opponent or whack them with a chain. And I think from memory, the referee was throwing things at you as well. So it was a really great time, and I wonder nowadays whether they would get away with or try to produce a game like this. And it's good to remember that these violent games were around back then as well. It wasn't just Grand Theft Auto and things like that. Like, we had violent games, and it's just more the graphics weren't as realistic. So we've got a bit of a write up here. So the real arcade action between the arch rivals is really hot, because tonight there's no fouls. So it's kind of like playing in your local bush league. That's right, no fouls. There is basketball where breaking the rules is part of the rules. You can't block a shot. If you can't block a shot, knock your opponent's block off. If you can't steal the ball, steal his shorts. Okay, I don't remember dacking anyone, but Arch Rivals also takes real b-ball skills like passing, shooting, ball handling, slam dunks, and three-point shots. All the in-your-face action and courtside sound effects of the arcade smash. It's not just basket brawl, it's a basket. Not just basketball, it's a basket brawl. Okay. I wonder if they got into any discussions about the name, given that there was another game called Basket Brawl. It may well be Under Acclaim Entertainment, for all I know. So I'm just going to focus on the artwork. The artist is quite well known for a couple of other games. So I'll just bring him up. So his name's Brian F. Collin. He's still going. He's on Twitter, and was known for Rampage. It seems that was his most famous cover art design. He's still going today. He did General Chaos. Xenophobe was another one that was well known, and you've got the NBA sort of inspired arch rivals symbol down the bottom here. So it's pretty clear Rampage was his most famous game that he did the artwork for. And if you remember that game, it was like you were a gigantic King Kong or Godzilla type of character, and you basically destroyed a town as quick as you could. I think that's sort of how it worked. You climb the buildings and smash things, and you could play 2-player, I think. And it was a lot. It was actually a lot of fun. It was a very good game. He actually produces games still, and some of them look really good. I think they're kind of for mobile games or whatever. So I've just got a video of the arcade version. I'll just turn the sound off. I've had a good listen of the sound. It's actually quite similar to the Genesis version. What the noticeable difference is the graphics. The actual frame rate is very similar, but the detail in the actual graphics is quite good. I'll just fix it's 480p. So yeah, it's probably about what you'll expect to see. So this is off the YouTube World of Long Plays. So just a channel where it just shows games being played. It looks as though it's a very similar style of very similar speed. There's a little bit of choppiness in the graphics in the actual frame rate, but that could be the video recording as well. So there's definitely a lot more detail in the characters, in just the drawings themselves, and it's definitely more noticeable. The players are more noticeable, and that means you can sort of see there's less. It doesn't have to be as overt, the differences. There's more. Some of them look a bit heavier built than others, and yeah, it appears as though the game runs really fast. There's definitely more animations happening in the basketball rings, especially the nets. You see, and they've got little speech bubbles, but there's definitely a lot more happening as far as the general just fidelity of it all. That, the ball going around and around and then flying off with the ring moving, that doesn't happen in the Genesis version. Yeah, so it's definitely a crisper looking game. There's certainly some sprites that have been shared, especially the background sprites, the George Carl lookalike there, and the guy with the glasses. They're all in the Genesis version. It's very big lack of detail in the court. It's very much just a off sort of cream coloured, light orange colour. Yeah, everything just seems like a little bit like it's been just toned down a little bit. But honestly, I think when you compare the difference between NBA Jam to the Genesis version, which was a very, very good version, I think you don't miss a lot. That dunk looked pretty good. You don't miss a lot with the flow of the gameplay or anything. It's not exactly like this game. If it was in the arcade, it's not going to blow your mind even back in the late 80s with the graphics. So it wasn't really about that. So overall, it was pretty good rendition on the Genesis, in my opinion. So I'll flick through to the Genesis version now. Okay, so we've got arch rivals happening. No harm, no foul. Winning is everything. Okay. Pretty intense. Looks a bit like old George Carl. Okay, I'll press start. Let's have a look. So I've got the sound playing through. Might not sound very good. I've got it playing through the mic. Just makes it a bit easier. Okay, so tonight's matchup, LA versus Chicago. 1 or 2 players. Okay, we go 1 player. Great game to play 2 players. Hit start to begin. All right, Brawl State versus Natural High. Good names. So we've got Tyrone, Vinny, Hammer, Moose, Reggie, Mohawk from the front cover, Blade, and Lewis. Kind of like Lewis. He's got the Horace Grant goggles going on there. Get ready, Lewis. Who are we going against? Oh no, so 1 player, it just has the one side of the screen. Alright, so, okay, A is jump. So you can just tackle. Alright, that's right, your computer player is passes B, alright, passes B, there we go. So you can punch out your players on D as well, on offense. So kind of like, I guess, setting a screen. Oh yeah, okay. Punch, there we go. It's a lot faster paced than I actually thought it would be. It's basically the same in pace as NBA Jam. The music, sound effects are pretty bad. The digitized voice is pretty good, but it's got that. Everything's got a little bit of a cheap feel about it. It wasn't what you'd call a AAA game by any stretch of the imagination, but yeah, it certainly plays well. It's fast. The concept's very similar. I remember this being like the best way to win this game is just to punch them as soon as they get the ball from the inbound. You could kind of get on a run. Oh, there we go, slam dunk, missed dunk. Shooting a 3. Every time the ball goes through, I think it does a little dunny roll around the hoop before it goes in. Okay, so the player controls when the computer shoots it, but not where he moves. Or like, you can control where he passes, when he passes, and you can control when he shoots. I think he'll just dribble it around until the shot clock runs out. Is there a shot clock? Doesn't appear to be a shot clock, so you could effectively run the game out. See how long I can last. Oh, not very long. I'll pass it next time. I'll just keep dribbling it and see how long I can go for. I keep hitting the jump button instead of the punch button. Let's plastic bag. They can get you pretty quickly. I imagine against friends that would be a good tactic if you were in a close game. If you wanted to be really boring and awful. Haven't blocked a shot yet. No commentary or anything like that. It's all just the players calling out and the sounds. Got to be really quick with the punches. I love how the running motion with it, the arm cocked back. You can kind of just run the whole time with this arm ready to punch. Really does feel like a country league basketball game. Ooh, 3. So yeah, it's pretty simple in its concept. It's basically sort of a cheaper looking NBA Jam with punching instead of dunking. You can take a dive as well, which is always a pretty good tactic, but it slows you down because you take a dive and you can set you can do an off-ball dive screen as well. I think we had, a friend of mine and I had conversations that it would have been great if it was this, if basketball was on the Genesis. This is basically the closest I think there is to it. But with weapons, blunt objects and things on the court, that would have been fantastic. So there you go. I think there's here we go, the coach's corner, end of first quarter. What's the best way to steal? Take a flying leap. Alright, we'll play to the halftime show. Oh, that's right, there's rubbish on the court at halftime, so if you run over a spilled drink or probably banana peel, there we go, there's some popcorn, I think you can actually trip over. Try and trip over. It definitely has a nice flow to it, and I love the side-on perspective. And as I said, this was 92 when it came onto the Genesis, but it was a 1989 game. I haven't been able to block a shot successfully. It's not really a factor. I think it's more an emphasis on diving on your opponents than apply for another 3. That worked before. No. Pass it out. Another 3. Yes. It does swish, but it's kind of a slow swish. Like it doesn't snap through the net. It kind of just sits on the ring for a bit and then goes through. The screen, the little black screen, and then every time you score, shattered the backboard. That's right. So there's a few extra things that keep you interested during the game. There we go. So that was a clear goaltend, and he got away with it. Let's see if I can do one. There's a few things, but every time you score, it goes to the screen with just the same sort of 1 or 2 pictures. It was a bit boring. It slows the game down a fair bit. And in a fast-paced game, I guess if you did a drinking game out of it or something, it would work. Whoa, that was from half court. There must be some computer controlling going on with keeping the scores even. It's a shame you can't control the other player. I guess that wouldn't work on D because both of them would have to go down. The players, other than the haircuts, they all kind of have the same body. Like they're not heavier or lighter or taller or shorter. Obviously, it's just the skin color, singlets, and facial, like the goggles or hair color. Mohawks, things like that. It's a good strategy if you're limited on processing capability and things, or your budget in this case. So you may not have been able to animate all those different characters, so you'd create a sprite set and then use the same motion, same body, but just change the heads and things like that. So yeah, it's kind of I've dabbled with animation a fair bit, and that's a pretty solid strategy to use. But obviously, NBA Jam, games like that, there's a lot more money, so product is better. Oh, nice. Let's go. Dunk it. Oh, come on. Larry Bird. Punch him. Come on. Oh, clearly not a country boy. Got to take a dive occasionally. There's really, once they get away from you there, there's not much you can do to catch them. Pretty decent pull-up jump shot. Feels like it seems to be determined by when you let go of the button, the shooting button. So it could be a degree of skill there. I feel like I can control the shot a little bit. And that, if you can time that little move there, you'll basically win most of the games, I recall. I remember this being quite simple to win against the computer when I was younger. But it's a lot better to play with two people because there's a bit of randomness to it. Oh, see, I don't know why the other player didn't just shoot it, then he was right at the hoop. Oh, here's the halftime show. Got the cheerleaders. Yep. Love his facial movement. They put a lot of time into the talking, but it just kind of looks a bit weird. Anyway, I'll leave it at that. Yeah, still a very fun game. Would definitely be a good game to play with friends. Nowadays, you can obviously emulate a lot of these. I have a copy of this game, so but this is on the computer. This is on Fusion emulator, and it runs perfect. Most of the games that I've played on Fusion run really well. And yeah, but obviously for legal reasons, you need to make sure you have an actual physical copy of the game. So yeah, really good game to play. It'd be good to see a reboot of this kind of game. I just noticed this little bulldog sitting on the ground here. That's our little mascot. Yeah. So anyway, that's another one added to the collection. I might play one of the other kind of fighting street ball style games. I might look at something like Barkley's Shut Up and Jam. There's a Scottie Pippen full motion video game that I'd love to figure out how to get running. That was on that was a PC game actually. It was crazy. The idea was you play from a first person perspective, but it was very clunky. But still, it was an interesting title. All right, so I'll leave it at that, guys. I'll catch you later.